everybody. What a kickoff. My goodness, that music, if it didn't get you pumped, it most certainly did for me. I'm Nadia Veeran-Patel, and thank you so much for joining us today for this really exciting conversation that we're going to have about career pathways into cybersecurity. I am the CISO currently at LRMG. You would tell from my screen that it says impactful. Impactful is the phenomenal cybersecurity and IT learning section of LRMG, and we're very excited to bring these amazing hosts and panelists that I have today with me. Not just are they really great cyber professionals, but they are also friends of mine. And we've all part a really great platform called Journeys to Inspire. And every single one of them are phenomenal people, phenomenal mentors, and are also pushing and looking to push people into cybersecurity. So thank you so much for joining me, team. You have no idea how appreciative am I of having you here today with me. And I would really love if you could please all just introduce yourselves.
Is it good afternoon? Good afternoon, everybody. Nadia, thank you once again for having us. We really appreciate it. I am Ilunga-Muleya, the Group MD for Red Hat and the various subsidiaries. It's been a long journey. I've been doing this for 26 years now. And along that ICT journey is where cyber obviously comes in, which we'll talk about later. I've been doing this for a long time, so I've seen the journey of ICT and how it's grown and how it's changed. It's been a beautiful journey. The biggest part for me, obviously, is being a woman in ICT when it was still very new and almost unheard of. So lots of barriers that had to be broken, lots of stereotypes that had to be shattered, lots of glass ceilings that had to be shattered. So it's been a journey. So I'm really, really happy to be here and share this journey with you guys, and hopefully inspire you to go on this journey with us. Thanks, Nat.
Thanks, Nels.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. And yes, Nolene, it is afternoon. I know the morning has probably been busy, so probably not sure what time it might be. But Nadia, thank you as well for inviting me. My name is Mark Shower. On my side, I cannot say I've had 26 years, Nolene. You've really crushed that ceiling for a lot of us. For me, it's just slightly under 10 years. I'm actually an independent security consultant, specifically in security awareness, as well as risk management and strategy. So very different pathways, as well, as Nolene has just mentioned. My side, I'm actually reporting all the way live from Zambia. So, great part about IT, we don't need to have the same physical barriers that were there. Now we can do it from all over the world. So yeah, that's just a little bit of a snippet. Obviously, you'll get to know me a little bit more as we dive into the conversation. And as we said, there's different ways that we've got about here, but we're going to definitely delve into that. So I'll hand it over to Lou.
Thanks, Mark. Hi, everyone. I'm Lutfia Ahmed. And I actually started as a senior manager in cyber risk just yesterday. So that is me. My background is largely in legal, and I've been doing privacy since the inception of my career. So I have about 8 years of work experience. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Marelise de Villiers-Basson. I'm the founder and CEO, that is the Chief Empowerment Officer of ROAR Coaching and Consulting. And at ROAR, we empower corporate executives and business owners who are struggling with burnout, really to rebalance their priorities. It's really about, achieving alignment and better work-life integration. And so it's really about empowering people to commit to a life of resilience. We also specialize in cybersecurity behaviors and culture, where we encourage organizations to move away from compliance, tick box-led approaches towards risk-based, people-centric approaches where they can embed secure mindsets and habits into their organizational culture. And we really, really emphasize the need for a speak-up culture, hence ROAR, because we really want people to become our strongest defense and people to surface and address mistakes really quickly, really become that sort of voice for the conscious and becoming really security conscious in our organizations. Wonderful to be with you today, and I look forward to sharing.
Thanks so much, Em. Really appreciate that. And I think this is something that brought us here, right? Is all of us have had these careers. Mark, Lou, not as long as some of the rest of us. I'm in tech now for 21 years as well. And I think a lot of the times we often get asked, what got you here? How did you get into cyber? What was your journey like? And the one thing I can say is, even though we would be able to answer these questions, is a lot of the time, every single person's journey to success is different. Success looks different for everyone, right? And also, as you go, the map gets drawn as you go, as you journey through your career and through your life, right? So I'd love to, though, explore what that journey has been for each one of us. I myself started, funny enough, I started studying information systems at university, and I hated it. Guys, 18 years old, I was like, I can't do this for the rest of my life. And I left and I decided I'm going to go work and I'm going to go and study marketing part-time. And with that, you know, I still ended up falling into the tech industry. Not long after I started studying my marketing degree, and I stayed there. I'm still here, guys. I haven't left. I've never used that marketing degree that I got ages ago. But it's been a journey, because I went from, you know, an IT technician, an administrator, to systems, a systems developer, giving my age away because I worked on Lotus Notes and Lotus Domino. And that's where I, you know, pretty much my career as a techie really started. And it's just grown from there. And I've been in security for about 19 years now. And what a journey it's been, though. You know, it's always been these stumbling blocks. It's been, you know, discovery. What do you want to do? What are you good at? And when I found security, I must admit, I did feel very much at home. And I've just felt, you know, this community, having you guys, the support that we have, we all know each other because it's such a small industry. And I love it. And every day is a challenge. I myself, like I said, I'm a CISO, so currently have, you know, a lot of strategy, big portfolio in regards to making sure our network architecture, our security strategy is there. But besides that, I do love the job. I love it. But like me, I know there's a few others here that didn't go into tech right at the beginning or didn't start there. And I would like to know, and Lou, I'm going to start with you first. What has that career journey been like for you, and how did you get into cyber?
So I think a little bit similarly, I started with something a little more technical. So I did chemical engineering for 2 years. And then when I did my back work, I wasn't very comfortable in the environment. And I thought, this isn't what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I think I was a bit naive, didn't have a lot of support. I thought that a change is what was going to fix it. So I ended up changing from chemical engineering to law. And I absolutely loved law. Law felt like my calling because of the critical thinking aspects and all of that. And my journey into cyber was a godsend, but it was very much by chance. When I started at the law firm that I was at, I started in the technology, media, and telecoms department at the law firm. And I was exposed to telecoms regulation. And then we had a lot of privacy work. So privacy ties in very much with data protection. Data protection is basically data security. So as I started learning data privacy, there's only so much you can learn before you want to start exploring a little more. So started getting more into data protection. And then from a law firm, I went into consulting. Consulting was so overwhelming because I thought I'm never going to learn so much. But the privacy team sat in cyber risk. So I started getting bits and pieces of exposure, and I thought, wow, I love this. But I was so hesitant in terms of I didn't want to be a manager who doesn't know anything. And I kept getting promoted, and I was getting scared and then thinking, I can't do this. And it was a very overwhelming experience. And then in consulting, I learned that no matter what you do, there's always more to learn. So you're always going to be in that point of a little bit of imposter syndrome, a little bit of having to learn. And I think I realized after going into industry and then coming back into consulting that challenge of learning more is so enticing to me. So I think a part of why I came back to cyber risk is also I wanted to keep exploring, keep learning, keep adding value to clients. And I think even beyond that, with cyber, there's so many different domains. Like I said, I'm coming from a legal background, but cyber strategy, a lot of the NIST standards, the ISO standards, when you're applying it, it's almost like applying legislation. So
Yes.
there's so much that cyber has to offer that don't ever get shy away from it. I know when I was in consulting as well, we worked with a lot of multidisciplinary teams, and I got exposure to data analytics. I was in the privacy team, but also working very closely with cyber. And I think learning from that comfortable environment really gave me confidence, and it was so exciting. So I think don't ever back down from it just because you think your background's a little bit different.
Thank you, Lou. And that's one of the, the myths that we want to bust today. I don't know if you guys remember Mythbusters, but anyway, there was, and that's the thing is everybody, it's almost made to seem like cyber is this elusive career that nobody can really attain and nobody can reach. And how do you get there? And what do you do? And I love that you pointed out that there's all these aspects, because a lot of the time we all assume, and I feel like, guys, we should have popped up with our hoodies and then unzip them and taken off, because everybody assumes, Mark's like, no. Everybody assumes it's that guy sitting in the back room in front of his computer, just tapping away and then hacking. And that's not it, right? That is like one element of this massive amount of cyber careers that you can go into. And that's why we have all you guys here, because each one of you have that unique, kind of industry kind of advantage or industry kind of experience. So I'm really glad that you mentioned that, Lou. Tell me about you, because I know yours has been also a really long journey.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try and keep it sort of short, but I am actually originally a chartered accountant. So I qualified as a chartered accountant way too long ago. But I was very lucky because when you become a chartered accountant, you've got to do 3 years of articles. And I was very, very lucky to do my 3 years of articles with PwC. I started in the Cape Town office, and literally on my first day of joining the firm, I actually knew that I wanted to be the person doing the induction training. So I was literally 100% sure that that was what I wanted to do, training and development. And 3 years later, I became the training manager for the Western Cape region. And that then led to amazing opportunities. And then I actually went on a secondment to the London office, and there I started really specializing in learning and development. We had a client training division, so that was all in consultancy. So I transitioned from kind of audit to consultancy, and really just loved getting myself immersed in change management, transformation, learning and development, growth mindset, all that sort of beautiful things. And I really knew very early on that that's my passion, and probably why I still do that in my business today. I fell into cybersecurity, I think 14 years ago now, just after my second stint of maternity leave. So I'd just gone back to work after I had my second son. And suddenly, out of the blue, out of nowhere, cybersecurity popped up as an industry. I don't know, it just kind of happened. And PwC suddenly started creating the cybersecurity assurance division. And then one of the CISOs, very thought-leading, very innovative CISO, William Beer at the time. I've got such great respect for him. And I think, just want to sort of highlight the importance of mentors and role models. But he really said to me, Marilise, we need someone like you that can help us really understand the people side of cybersecurity. Because I already then, he had a very strong conviction that it's a people problem we're trying to solve, not just a technology problem, not just a process problem. It's actually the people side of it. And that really, the rest is history. I then just fell in love with it and immersed myself in the industry. And obviously there have been ups and downs, and I left corporate again, I wish I could tell you I left with this plan to become an entrepreneur. Unfortunately, I left pretty much burnt out, on my knees, and having to really rebuild my life. And that was about 7 years ago. And that's how I founded Roar and why I do what I do today.
Nice. I love that. I love the vulnerability as well, that it's also, you know, this journey that all of us are on, no matter what career you're on in, is that burnout is a real thing. Struggle is a real thing. It's not going to be a straight road. It's very much like a roller coaster in actual fact, because you can't even see where the turns are coming, right? So thanks for sharing that, Em. Mark, tell us.
All right. So thanks, Nads. Just to highlight, Lou, you actually took my second degree option. You took the jump and you went straight to go do law, which is great, because you find a whole lot of that just applies so much within the cyberspace. You're going to always be finding that. I will say I can't really say I fell into cyber as such. Maybe cyber fell onto me. I'll put it more like that. So look, computer science background. But to be honest, just like Nadia, you mentioned, like you did IT and you hated it. I think there was a point where I thought, I'm not going to be a programmer. I said, I'm not going to be that. Like I really did not enjoy being the person, as you said, with the hoodie and pizza being slipped under the door as you're typing away to try and break into something. I didn't enjoy that at all. So even though I did that, I found myself being in, working in a telco and specifically within the network management space, right? So jumped into the graduate program in that manner. But the thing that really got me into cyber was my mouth, because I just would speak a lot. I would be very opinionated. And I realized that that's one of the things that maybe people didn't really enjoy much, is they will hear you talk too much about it. They expect cyber people to be quiet. And I wasn't, right? I would always question and say, why do we do it like this? Why are we following this manner? You look at processes and you realize that, what the biggest stumbling block that was there was really the people, right? And it really worked with the fact that I'm good with people, and I began speaking to them more and saying, what do you guys think about cyber? So I popped it as well for the listeners that are there, the viewers, is what do you think cyber is about, right? I'm really interested to find out, what are your thoughts, right? But for me, what happened was I would speak so much about it that in one of the conferences that I got invited into is where I ended up getting someone who vouched for me. And Marilise, I love it that you said, there's a mentor. He became a mentor to me. His name is Sheldon Bennett, amazing person. I think he's in Bahrain at the moment. And he actually picked me out because I spoke way too much. And he's like, don't you want to join the cyber team, specifically from the security awareness perspective? I was not really doing that at all. I was in network management. And for those that are in IT and understand the network side, you don't want to see people at all. They're your worst nightmare. And that's what happened. I ended up joining the wider team at the time as, someone who's in the security awareness side. And funny enough, that's where I realized that's how you tap in to getting people to start building this culture. And that was more of what it was about. And like security, cybersecurity is not necessarily the technical side. It's a big aspect of it. You should definitely know about it, but it's a culture, right? It's more of getting people to do things in such a secure way so that you can uplift the business. And that's how I got in there. My path was really because I spoke more to people. I wanted to listen to people more, and found out that it was more about how you can get people to understand what is required of them, and how they can be able to fight the fight in the wider scheme of things, of trying to protect people, trying to protect customers, trying to protect the organization. And that was really my pathway into it. So it started off conventionally being the science kid, but really it wasn't really that part that got me in. It was more of, one, how do I market myself? How do I speak about it? And then eventually it fell onto my lap. And then I ended up running more towards the risk side of things, because I realized at the end of the day, life is really just about risks, right? You're either trying to avoid it or you're trying to take on more, depending on where you're trying to go. And cyber really fell into the same thing for me, is more of how do I get from point A to point B? What are the risks that are here? Which speaks about strategy and planning and everything like that. And eventually that's really how I've gotten to be where I am, more on the consulting side of it, speaking to people about where do you want to be as a business. And, you know, because the reality is we're living in a tech space, there will always be risks that exist. And what are you doing to make sure that what you're putting in the forefront is a good security culture? And ensuring that people understand what is their responsibility and ensuring that we maintain this culture to get the business to where we want to be. So yeah, that's really my pathway.
Awesome. Awesome. And I love how you busted myths 2 and 3, which is you don't need to be technical. And the other one is we all proved that the third one is you don't need to have studied IT, you know, necessarily, and it didn't need to be your first choice, or computer science, or AI, or whatever the case may be. Is we all had all these different parts, and we still fell there. We still got there. So, and I always say, you know, role models are a great thing, and there's a specific reason all of you guys are here as well, is we all need someone who look like us, so that we know we can get there too. So on that notes, we did save the longest and the last.
So no, thank you. So I didn't have anything to do with ICT, and if you think about my journey some 27 years ago, when you know when all of it started, ICT for women was just like a very small space somewhere in the US, and some people coming into the UK and a little bit in Asia, and almost unheard of in an African space. I actually studied microbiology and had absolutely nothing to do with ICT. And I was doing my master's, and I was already married. I know, do not do that. Do not marry that young. I was married, and I was just had my kid, my one and only kid. And I thought, I don't want to be locked up in a lab. It's not what I want to do. I kid you not, I was 7 years old when I decided I was going to be a microbiologist. And that was all I ever wanted. And it's what I worked for. And I had a scholarship and everything. And I did it, and I absolutely hated it. And suddenly I was a mom, and I had this little girl, and I was like, what am I going to do that impacts this child? And I have to now be responsible and do all of these things that I hadn't planned for. And I got thrown into telecoms. I started off with telecom in the customer care division. And I don't know what it is. It just worked out for me because you guys are too young to know Isabel Jones. But Isabel Jones was a watchdog in the media. So basically anybody who had bad service would go to Isabel Jones, and she would be at your door. She is the Devi Sankri of the 1980s, 1990s kind of thing. And she was really hardcore. But I got to the point where people like Isabel Jones absolutely loved me. And Roy Keats of the Sunday Times would write about me and say, you know what, if you ever need somebody, you need to go find this young lady at Telkom and go and speak to her. And because of that, I then got headhunted by Vodacom, who had just bought out a company called Cellworks, which is now Vodacare. Because at that point in time, Vodacom did not deal with anything to do with cell phone repairs. It was a exclusive entity that dealt with it and that absorbed it. And they needed somebody to come in as a customer services director. This was a brand new space for me. I got this title of director, and I was like, okay, this is a lot to handle. I know how to handle people, and now it's still telecoms, but now it's mobile telecoms, different space, and I embraced it. I worked with this awesome woman from the UK called Ruth Lockwood, and I think that's why it's so important to have women who support women in a workspace, because she taught me so much. She was much older than me, and I learned so much from her. And I started going, and we started running with it. And I always say I was very lucky because, and I know it was a lot of hard work, but I believe it's lucky because people saw potential in me. And Altec had bought out Autopage, and they needed somebody to come in and run these projects. And I was like, okay, new space. It was in the marketing space. So every single role I ever did built me up for the next role, because I took these skills with me from one role to another, went into the space with Autopage, and started working. I say I because I actually did this. Autopage was trying to decide on insurance, and we had this one scale insurance, one size fits all. Doesn't matter whether you had the most expensive or the cheapest phone. And I came up with a concept of a tiered structure for insurance, which still runs across all all mobile companies at the moment for insurance. A tiered structure. And I remember there was this amazing guy who he passed on. He was Ruka Durant. Ruka Durant was one of the leading minds in the telecom space, and he was one of the people that passed in that helicopter crash, with if you know Danny Kaye, if you're old enough as we are, with Danny Kaye's brother, and they were doing this Nashua thing on the helicopter, and he passed. But he just said to me, Nolene, you don't say much. He doesn't know me now, though. At that point in time, you don't say much, but when you do, you always have these pearls of wisdom. And it was weird that it was a simple statement and stuck with me to think, okay, there is merit to the things that go on in my head. There are people that were actually willing to listen. And I was there, and then I got headhunted by an international company. I went and I did this interview with these French people, and I thought, oh my word, that's the worst interview I've ever been to in my life. And I promise you, when I left there, I didn't understand them. They certainly did not understand me. And I kid you not, as I walked out the door, I got a call to say, the guys in France want to meet with you. And I thought, okay, that's different. And that led to me, I kid you not, 2 days later, I got a letter of appointment. I was shipped off halfway across the world, and I was in Belgium. I lived in Belgium. I lived in Paris. I lived in the US, and I got to travel the world. It was the most amazing experience. Put everything into context. Now I was dealing with money because it was Western Union and international money transfer, which is completely different. I was now exposed to new laws about money laundering. I didn't even understand what that meant before that. How to handle transactions. I had to come back, and I closed down a couple of businesses in Lesotho and Swaziland because we were not complying. I had to revise the laws in terms of South African law and how we ran. Zambia, Malawi. I was just all over the world, doing this about money transfer. And then I came back and I missed home. I'll be honest. I missed you. You won't believe it, but when you leave this country, it's so unique. You want to come back here. It's so completely different. I had great experiences. Let me not lie. I had the most amazing experience. I have awesome friends who've become lifelong friends. I missed home. No matter where I was, I missed home. So I kept coming back. As much as I've left, I've always come back. I came back, and Vodacom headhunted me. And I joined, guys. I was instrumental in launching Rika. So it was still in inception. It was in Parliament. We got it pushed through, and I launched Rika with Vodacom, the first batch to roll out for Rika. And that is when things like data protection started coming in. People didn't understand that and why it became important. And the reason I'm taking so long, because I'll explain how we got to cyber. Because these little things, these little journeys take you on that path. And this is why it's so important to understand that every role you take on builds you for the next and the next and the next. So I launched Rika for Vodacom, and then MTN asked Vodacom, could they please borrow me to roll out mobile number portability?
Wow.
So I went out to MTN and I rolled out mobile number portability. We did it for Vodacom, and so apologies, I'm recovering from a terrible flu. And I went and I rolled out mobile number portability for MTN. And I came back and I thought, what am I going to do now? I did this massive WAS upgrade for Vodacom at that time, first of its nature. Let me tell you why it's important. I became a woman who appreciated things like cabling. I would look at cabling and go, that was good cabling. I can understand, because if you think about data rooms 20, 25, 26 years ago, to how you have more data probably now on your phone than what we were looking at in data rooms, 20, 26 years ago. And I could appreciate cabling. Standard Bank approached me and they said, would you please join us for our Africa business? And I'm like, okay, major bank, a different space. And I went on as head of infrastructure for Standard Bank for Africa. And I went in and did this amazing, amazing VMware upgrade across Africa. I presented the plan to Exco and they said to me, you are very ambitious. And nobody thought I could ever do it. And I did it ahead of schedule, under budget, and it was so successful that Standard Bank never had to do it until 10 years later.
Wow.
I was a lone woman with an entire team that literally followed me halfway across the world to every country. I was hospitalized twice in Kenya, was hospitalized in Nigeria, I was hospitalized in Ghana. At that point in time, I was at the peak of my thyroid cancer. And what kept me going was my career. And it kept me grounded. Did these amazing things all over the world. I came back and I got headhunted by an international listed New York Stock Exchange listed company and said, can you come and run our Africa business? And I joined them. And I went to Wipro, and then I was in India. I was back and forth with India and got sick in India and came back, but just continued and drove and drove and drove. And on that journey, people started realizing, you know what? Here's somebody who's going to come in and give us strategy. So I started strategizing for major businesses everywhere. And they would come in and say, how do you want to do this? And you started noticing the trends, because it wasn't just about data anymore. It was about data security and how you're going to manage it, and what were companies going to do? What were banks going to do? What were smaller entities? I went into agriculture. After he approached me, their CEO said, listen, we really want you to come on board and be our CIO. They could not afford me. So they said, could you then come consult for our CIO and tell us about building a strategy? And I started building strategy for agriculture. Right. So it was telecoms, and then it was fixed telecoms, and it was mobile telecoms. Then it was, it was a financial sector. And I went to Harvard and we launched something new. Every single thing that I went into allowed me to understand how to build a strategy that spoke to securing your data. And it didn't mean somebody behind with a hoodie on. It didn't mean that you were a faceless, nameless person. It just meant somebody really smart understood how to get to you and your business. And the reason it became so important is because that person sitting behind, that faceless, nameless person sitting behind their little laptop somewhere, was connected to another 5, 10 other people, have the ability to bring the world to its knees. Right? And they can do that. They can bring, we've seen it. I've been brought in by a couple of banks, even here in SA, this year alone, a good couple of times, where they get what we call a love letter in cyber, which is left for them very nicely, which is basically a ransom note. And we have to come in and we have to rescue time and time again. So in that, I've been on that journey. It started off with ICT and it got into data. And from data, it's in cyber. And now I'm in the AI space as well. I'm currently being recruited by government as head of women in AI.
Amazing.
So that journey, and the reason it becomes important is because IT and ICT is forever changing. The most amazing thing about it is how dynamic. My kid, I think I said this to Nadia at the beginning. My kid always says to me, I don't understand how you can do such a boring job. Okay. Let me tell you, given she's qualifying as a surgeon now, that for me is boring. So I said to her, if you understand ICT, IT is so dynamic. We have changed and we are constantly changing. If you are coming into this space, you are never going to be bored. I love what I do. I've loved it since the day I fell into it, right? Mark, it fell on you. I fell into that pit. And I've loved I've never been bored with what I do. I've never been in a role that bored me or that I don't want to do this anymore. If anything, I've only moved because the opportunities got better and better and better, and it gave me room to grow.
Yeah, what a phenomenal story. What a phenomenal story. Like, I've known you for years and I never knew all those things that you accomplished. And that's another thing, we need to speak more about all the things that we've done. And as a woman, to have accomplished and done what you've done, hats off, my amazing lady, hats off. And it's so inspiring. And I kept seeing people clap and give you hearts and fireworks all the time. And it's absolutely true, right? I mean, and people think, and that's another thing I want to say is people think that when we tell our stories, that sometimes it's boastful. It's not. It's honesty. It's vulnerability. It's truth. It's also, hopefully it'll inspire you to do better and inspire you to do more, and what I can say about all these people on the call here is every single one of them are fighters. Every single one of them are ambitious. Every single one of them are motivated to do more and better every single day. But with that, I know comes challenges. And Lou, I'm going to pick on you quickly for this particular question. For our people who have joined, we thank you so much for listening to us. We are going to take your questions. We're going to leave about 10 or 15 minutes. So please stay on and pop your questions into the chat. We really like to hear from you. But Lou, in your current job as a person in privacy and studied law, what do you find challenges you the most right now?
I think a large point of it was being given the opportunities. So sometimes people think, oh, you have a legal background, you have this background. When I was in the original consulting firm that I was at, the business need was that I stay in privacy. So I didn't get as much opportunity as I wanted in the broader cyberspace. So sometimes people sort of not bringing you on board just because of those different qualifications was one of my challenges. But I think to Mark's point, where you start questioning things, you start being confident. And I think a lot of that confidence came from now me going ahead and learning about things. I hear something in a discussion, I expose myself. People would think, oh, there's this meeting, I don't want to join, I don't have to be in it. I used to go to meetings, take lots of notes. Anything I didn't understand, I'd go and I'd Google on the internet. There's so much of resources available, so much of really great YouTube videos. And I think I learned on my own and I started asking better questions. And then people started noticing me. Lou, let's get you on board on this or that. And the opportunity started coming. And I think CISO Alliances and Journeys to Inspire was also a big role, played a big role on my confidence. When I first started joined the alliances, I was so terrified to come to an in-person session with CISOs, heads of security. I thought I'm going to say something stupid because that's Lou. She says dumb things all the time. And then I'm going to lose credibility. But it was such a comfortable environment. So I think don't ever miss out on opportunities because you think you don't know enough. I learned so much through those opportunities. I know someone, I went to B-sides and someone said they didn't go because the topics were so technical. When I went, I was scared of the same thing. But it was pitched at such a nice foundational level that I was like, wow, I'm so glad I came here. I didn't know anyone that was going, but I ended up meeting Nadia. I ended up meeting Zach and a whole lot of other people I knew from the industry. So networking, mentorship, taking opportunities that you don't think is fit for you, but that you're being given, take them, get support, network. You will learn it and grow. It's very uncomfortable and very difficult, but you will get there.
Brilliant. Brilliant, Lou. Excellent advice. And I think that's something that we also want to address is what are those little things that people can do to get themselves out there? And I did see someone's comment about, being a mom, how do you get into cyber? And that's it. You've got to put yourself out there. You've got to approach people. Every single one of these people on this call, by the way, for those who have joined us, are all mentors. They all want to help you. Reach out, chat to them on LinkedIn. We're all willing to do that. I know a few of us have mentor groups. Please just reach out. We will be happy to help you guys. So Mark, I'm going to ask you, you've got the technical skills, you've had the degree. And before I go into that, actually, what do a microbiologist, computer scientist, marketer, chartered accountant, and lawyer have in common?
Cybersecurity?
That's it. They all got into cyber. It just shows nobody needs a career in cyber with a degree in IT. But anyway, I'm so glad people laughed at that. I kept saying that in my head, and I was like, "Is this really funny?" Yeah, Mark, tell us. You've got the educational background, right? But what is it? Do you think beyond technical skills? What else do people need? What are the softer skills that people might need?
I think, look, from my experience, it's really about, I think some of the softer skills is like communication. We sometimes think we know we can communicate, until you're really required to actually speak to people and have to be able to present a message or frame a message in a particular way. And you realize it's actually not as easy. A lot of the stumbling blocks that we've got as cyber people, the technical people, is speaking to people who are non-technical, right? Like I heard, like, you know, as Nolene was explaining some of the things, and probably, you know, you find maybe the audience might be wondering, what does some of that mean, right? And you realize, like, that's the reality, is that there's a subset of people that are technically gifted, and then there's a wider group of people that are not. How do you communicate? And you realize that what I've picked up is two things which I think are good skills to learn. One, learn to just talk more, like speak a whole lot more. Like, I'm the person who, I will wake up and I will talk to myself, because it's just what it is. I look in the mirror, I will talk to myself. I will walk around and keep talking to myself. And, you know, you find the more that you talk, the more you work better at articulating yourself in such a way that people understand. Because there will be times that you're going to stand in front of different people with different backgrounds. Nolene, you probably experienced this so much. Where you've got someone who's a techie, you've got someone who's in finance, you've got someone who is in marketing, and you have to present a cyber-related message to them. How do you do that? That's so difficult, but you realize that you have to learn to talk to the everyday person. You have to learn to communicate in such a way that a 5-year-old can understand the work that you do, which is not so easy. I love how we sometimes say the soft skills, and I think those are the harder skills, right? Because guess what? The technical stuff can be taught. You can go to a lot of websites these days where you can do all this online training. You want to learn about Amazon Web Services, you can do it online. You want to learn about programming, you can do it online. But what about the communication? What about things like empathy and being able to understand the feeling of someone that is receiving the message that you're saying? Not as easy. Those are the much harder skills, which I realize is what you need. I think the second one is writing. Very simple. It's writing. How well do you think, as I'm talking, can you write the same message, right? We can speak things. So spoken word, maybe it's a little bit better. What about that written word? Because you're going to find that something that might set you apart from someone else is how well you can write a report that's understandable to different people, right? Which is where, you know, like, I'm going to, you know, look at Lou, is a lot of the stuff you've done, especially in consulting, is you're going to write contracts. You're going to write a lot of stuff. Marketing, you have to write a message that's going to grip the audience and ensure that they get the message and they feel the right emotions when they get it. And you realize that if you don't know how to write, what are you doing there? Yes. All right. So for the people that are listening and watching, is read and write. Those, I think, are two really significant type of things that I've found that if you can do these and do these particularly well, you set yourself apart in this industry that is deemed so technical. Because that's where I think, for me, the crux are about cyber, is how well you can say we are secure as an organization or not secure, and how well you can articulate to a business that we need, you know, we need resources, we need funding, because it's going to elevate the business, versus just saying, listen, you've got a CVE that's, you know, 9 point something and you're at high risk. And they're like, okay, but what does that mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah. So those are the two things. And look, there's a lot of softer stuff that I think listening might be maybe my third best one, is how well can you listen? We speak a lot. We can, nowadays it's, you know, we text a lot, but how good are we at listening? And you find that, I think those, if you can get those three as skills, especially within cyber, you set yourself apart, because listening forms a really big part of understanding how your business wants to do stuff. And then you can be able, as Lou said, you ask the right questions. Because if you're listening well, then you can ask the right question. And you find that's when people start to pay attention. Because if you listen just so that you can respond to people, you may not get what they're really trying to say. But you're listening to understand, you're listening to comprehend, you're listening because you genuinely are interested. So you find those three things really set you apart within the cyberspace. I would look at those three, because I think that's stuff that anyone can do. Anyone can read, well, we hope, but you can work on reading. No, no, no. This is reality. You can work on reading. You can work on writing, and you can work on listening. And I think those things, when you really want to now find yourself coupled with now the technical side of cyber, and you learn those. We're not going to negate the technical side. To be honest, you need a level of technical knowledge. To be honest, you need a level of technical knowledge to then thrive in cyber, not necessarily to get in, but to thrive in cyber. That level of technical knowledge coupled with reading, writing, and listening will really set you apart in the cyberspace.
Phenomenal advice. I couldn't have said it better. And I agree with you. And the soft skills are the harder parts to learn, right? Because the technical skills, anybody can watch a YouTube video, anybody can study a program, anybody can get a certificate, but really communicating, really making sure. But bear that in mind. And I saw someone said also, and I think Roxy, you made the comment about how do moms get into cyber as well. And I want to address, because your name keeps popping up, but I do want to address that, you say you're not outspoken or you're not. The biggest introvert I've ever met in my life is Lou. She's someone who's literally like, nope. But every time she shows up and she puts herself out there, because there will be instances where you will have to. But having said that, there are careers that you don't need to do that. And if you want to be that person, that's also great. There is a space for everyone. Cyber, IT, everything, there is literally so many careers you can go into. And I just want each of us to maybe, one career each to try and pop up, even if it's your own, to say, what is it that someone could go into as a starting point, as an entry point? And I know we're all going to say GRC, so don't say GRC, but give us really like important points. For me, one of those things, I really think what's big right now, and yet everybody can learn, and everybody is data, right? Data science, data security, data management. You deal with data every single day. Just go and Google it, go and YouTube it, go and see all the phenomenal openings there are for you to go into data. So that's my one. Knowles, what do you suggest? Quick, 10 seconds.
Yeah, for me, it's always, I think the easiest one is data. Understand data, and it doesn't require any kind of special skill. I think just read up, understand, and that information is readily available. If you want to go into more deep data, if you do want to be that person doesn't want to speak to anybody, you can actually just go code data if you want. I think easiest, quickest path into it.
Thank you, Knowles. Mark, tell us.
Shucks, you guys have picked the ones that are easily available. Entry level, look, I would use mine, security awareness. Just go talk about security, like understand the fundamentals of security and teach people. So if you can teach, if you can do that, that's okay. That's going to be for me. So security awareness.
Nice. Em?
I'm going to suggest you take a step back and you ask yourself, what do I truly want and why? We can give you all the advice every day of the week, but you have to follow your heart. You have to follow your passion. So please, please, please do that. Take the time to really ask yourself, what do I want and why? We never ask ourselves that question. We just think, oh, this is what's expected, society, everybody's gonna like, we live our lives kind of outside of ourselves, what's expected of us. And I would really encourage every single one of you to say, what do I want? It's a very, very simple question. It's not an easy question to answer.
Beautiful. Well done. Lou?
With my background in legal, you can't limit me to no GRC. But I think the biggest sort of help to me was when I started doing cyber program assessments and getting exposure at a very sort of light touch in every domain. So I got a little bit of an understanding of the vulnerability management, the pen testing, but at a very palatable level. So I think starting off with those type of things, and I know a lot of juniors start off with OS and DBs certifications like your Security Plus. I think it's nicer to have that exposure to all of the domains at once, so you get a feel for what you could potentially fit into.
Beautiful. I love it. And you're right? And I said this to someone the other day, doesn't matter what age you are, you will find something that you love at any stage of your life. Every single one of us changed our careers at some point. Every single one of us started something different. I mean, there's no age limit. There's no limit to what you can learn, where you can go, what you can do. So find your passion, but that passion can change, and that's also okay. That passion can change anytime, so just feed it. I know we don't have a lot of time left. This was such a phenomenal conversation, and I feel like we need more, and I need more of you guys. So I think we maybe a part 2 is coming, so we'll keep that in mind. But I'm gonna quickly jump to my sidekick, my Robin. Once I know you handling questions first. Team, feel free, anybody to answer. But what's the first question do we have there, Wendy?
Thanks, Nadia. I've got 4 questions which are quite similar, so I'll put them all together. So we have Lebohang, Michaela, and Kamuso, who have a background in IT, and they're looking to transition into cybersecurity, more towards security, like a SOC position. And they're asking what can they do to be more marketable, so they can be hired, basically. So they're trying to transition, and they've got the IT background.
Phenomenal. Thanks, Wans. Team, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to take that one. I think certifications, and if you've got an IT background already, really go for there's so many certs that you can get out there. Impactful themselves have quite a few certifications with regards to cybersecurity. There's graduate programs that you can go into. Impactful have these graduate programs. Please feel free to reach out to any of us with regards to that. But also, it's an easier pivot for you guys. Trust me, it really is an easier pivot. Mark was saying, you do have some sort of technical, you do need it. You guys got it already. To make that pivot is fairly simple. Reach out to one of us. One of us will help you with regards to that. We could really take it offline, but there's plenty of certifications that you can get right now that will help you get noticed. We need you guys, so please. Next question, Wans.
Nadia, could I just echo something on that same one as well? I think if you're already in the IT space and you really want to transition now into a SOC space, I'm going to make it a bit more practical now, is if you are in a company, I think what you need to do is whichever business unit you're in, see if you can engage with security. Reason I'm saying this is because the security team is small, right? But generally, there's no huge security team unless the company is just for security, but still wouldn't be a security team. You want to understand what is security's requirement of the department that you're in, and what are some of the IT-related issues that you can be able to assist them with, right? Every security team will tell you every department has got some issue somewhere, right? Nothing is a clean slate or a clean slab. So what you want to do is engage with them to find out that what can I do to be able to give you more visibility of my area, right? You're the IT person within your space. So you want to give them that view, or you want to be the entry point. So become sort of like that security champion for them. Because then what you're starting to do is get experience, because they can then start to give you a view of saying, these are where the risk areas exist. And you can now start to add an analytical eye into that space, specifically if you're in the SOC space, because that's what a lot of the SOC is about. It's analysis, it's the looking at the data and starting to understand where your threats emanate from. And I think from there, you can now start to work hand in hand with the team. And trust me, you're building your experience, even though you're not in the actual department. I think a lot of us sometimes think you need to be in the department to actually be in cyber. No, you need to be a champion, or you can be a champion, which starts to help you gain the experience. And eventually, because now, here's your advantage. You have got the background of your department, and now you've also got the knowledge of cyber. Coupled together makes you a unique asset in that space. So that's a more practical thing that you can do outside of the certs and everything like that, is start to engage with them.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mark. Wans?
I'll give you the last 2 questions, similar one to the one about transitioning, but this one is from Pamela. She's got a background in risk management, and insurance, and she wants to transition into cybersecurity. And the last question is from Ziad, and he's asking if there'll be similar sessions in the future.
Definitely similar sessions. I think we've just established that one. Anybody wants to answer the other question? Any of you guys want to take a stab at that one?
Let me take a stab on that one, specifically on the risk side.
Yeah.
A practical thing again that you can do if you are in risk and insurance and you want to jump into the cyber side, policy management. That's like one of your first things that you can do is what are the cybersecurity policies that are in your organization, even if you're on the risk side, and start to create alignment between what the organization wants and what cybersecurity wants, right? I think that gets you a more practical feel. And again, it gets you to start to engage with the cyber team. I think there's still one of the tough challenges we've got is that it's still this idea that cybersecurity is an IT problem, risk management and the like is a business problem, when in reality, it's the same thing. It's integrated. Cybersecurity is a business risk. It's not an IT risk. And if you're in the risk space, you're actually in one of the best spaces because you probably might be having some risk steercos in your space where cyber needs to provide some input. If you can go to the cyber team, and I can definitely guarantee you on this one, cyber's always happy to receive people to come and assist them because there's so many fires that you're just trying to get rid of half the time. I think we spoke about burnout. That's one of the challenges that we always experience. And the more people who come in from different areas to say that I want to be able to assist, or can you show me more of what you guys do and I can add my risk hat, that's going to be so much better. It's you will find yourself in such a good position. So I'd say start with your policies. Look at your procedures that are there. If you're in the risk space, look at things as well around what's the right word that I'm looking at? So the governance. That's really what you want to look at, is the governance of it all, and see how you can align the business itself and cyber, because I think the future of cybersecurity is to ensure that everything that is done in the business is just done securely. It's not about saying adding security on top. No, it's security integrated. And if we can get to understand the different processes within the different business areas and integrate security, which we can get when we get more business areas coming to us, it makes our life totally easy. So policy management will help you out. That change management, if you're in the risk space as well, will help you out. Work on those particular type of documentation, and you'll start to get your fingers into the security cookie jar.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much. Knowles, I'm gonna just stop it there, and I'll tell you why, because I'm very conscious of time, and I know a lot of people are gonna jump off, so I don't want to lose people. We're gonna pop a QR code into the chat. Please fill out this webinar survey for us. We really need your feedback, and if you want more, please ask for it. It'll give us great to do more of these. So we really would like to do that. And then also I want to leave you with a piece of advice as well, is that just to end it off, is that you're never going to really make a difference if you don't do things yourself. And initiative is a great thing. And initiative is a great way to start. Some of Priyan, is the QR code safe? Yes, it's safe. But one of the challenges that I always have when I deal with people is a lot of people don't even know where to start or what everybody just kind of wants to get into cyber because it's cool right now. And to be honest with you, if you really want everybody to really take you seriously, is to really focus on what you think you want to do. Go out, investigate, YouTube, take the initiative, see what's out there, and then approach the likes of all these fantastic people that are on the call and the rest of the cyber community. They are so willing to help, but you just need to know your direction. Where do you want to go? No one can point you in that direction, because if we say to you, it's easy to go and study to be an ethical hacker, trust me, some of you may hate it. And we don't want to push you in that direction. So it's really, digital forensics, GRC, there's so many. That might be your calling. And that's what we really want to leave with you today, is take the initiative, investigate, and then reach out, network, ask people for advice. We are so willing to give it. I thank you all so much for this amazing hour. It flew by. I really appreciate all of you guys, and especially to the people who joined us. I really thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to hosting so many more. Thank you, everyone.